This is Task Data Part 2, Structured Gantt Plans. I like to set up Microsoft Project Gantt plans with a high degree of structure. I suggest you design each as if it were a nicely structured software module and avoid randomly ordered logic. Of course, each recommendation on this page is my preferred practice and isn't required for correct operation of a PowerOpI project. These recommendations stem from bringing order to planning a large project, not from technical considerations. Having said that, an MPP file can be created for each major element or process or collection of related smaller efforts. Several examples. Each MPP file contains a GANTT for a major function like a PC board for DSP, or it could contain a collection of GANTTs for efforts with closely related design and logistics, like backplane plus power distribution elements. An MPP might contain a GANTT for chassis front mechanicals plus a GANTT for chassis rear mechanicals plus a GANTT for full chassis assembly. An MPP might contain a GANTT for a major software module like client connection software, or for a data transport method, or for a PCIe driver. More examples. An MPP might contain GANTTs for integrations including chassis level and system level for all rev levels. An MPP might contain GANTTs for compliance and qual testing. An MPP might contain a GANTT for major software process like branch integration, SQA, and release candidate bug triage and release to production. Each GANTT has internal structure illustrated on this page at left. First, at the top of the MPP file, a section for links, meaning dependencies, and a section for links out, meaning deliverables. This will help linkage among GANTTs, as I'll show shortly. Even if there are multiple GANTTs in one MPP file, there should only be one dependency and deliverable section at the top of that file and covering all GANTTs contained below it in the MPP file. Second, below links in and links out, a section for functional design containing GANTT representing the design story for all design revisions, sprints, etc. for one of several elements. Third, a section for common and repeated large processes. An important example shown is EE or ME build process for revision of each element through its development lifecycle, including back-end design, DFM reviews, fab, CM build, assembly, first article inspection, test, and ship. Your project may have a different set. A template for this can be well designed and built for a key repeated process, which is replicated and customized for specifics of each specific build. In addition to MPP files containing all the element GANTT plans, create an MS Project file to be used for roll-up of the element GANTT plans, and insert each element MS Project MPP file into it as a sub-project using MS Project menu Project, section Insert, Sub-Project button. Links among the GANTTs contained in these files will be created and managed in this roll-up file, and task data for the program as a whole will be exported from this master roll-up file. This example calls the roll-up file projectfilename.mpp. You should name the file as appropriate for your project, but please include the string rollup in the name in order to use the VBA code for export with your file that will be shown shortly. As just described, each MS Project MPP file contains a section at the top for dependencies and a section at the top for deliverables. Each external dependency, upon a task in a GANTT plan in a different MPP file, should be represented by a milestone task of duration 0 in the dependencies section at the top of its MPP file. That milestone task should be linked as a predecessor to tasks inside the MPP file that should be gated by it. A default value somewhat earlier than the anticipated actual dependency date may be set as a start date for these milestones as a convenience so that the project logic inside the GANTT looks approximately correct until the dependency milestone can be linked. Similarly, each deliverable from a GANTT plan in an MS Project MPP file that's deliverable to a task in a GANTT plan contained in a different MPP file should be represented by a milestone of duration 0 in the deliverables section at the top of the MPP file. That milestone task should be linked as a successor to the task within a GANTT plan contained with that MPP file that completes production of the deliverable. When element MPP files have been inserted into the master rollup MPP file, you'll link the predecessor tasks of dependency milestones in each inserted MPP file as successors to deliverable milestones in other inserted MPP files that produce the appropriate element or task completion. The rollup file should of course be saved at this point. MS Project task predecessor and successor tasks are indicated with MS Project using its file name concatenated with its task number, which is pretty much a line number in the MPP file and changes as tasks above it in the MPP are added or deleted. By connecting dependencies with deliverables from milestones placed in links in and links out sections at the top of MPP files, the task numbers of linked dependencies and deliverables among the MPP files remain constant even as GANTT logic within each file is developed or changed. This keeps the linkages much more stable than linking to tasks located throughout the changing GANTT logic. The exception is that if a dependency or deliverable milestone is added or deleted within an MPP file, task numbers of other dependency or deliverable milestones below it will change, affecting linkages to other files. For this reason, when adding or deleting a dependency or deliverable milestone, that must be done within the open master rollup MPP file. Changes made from within that open file will be propagated among its contained subproject MPP files correctly. Then, when closing the master rollup MPP file, save all the GANTs when prompted, thus saving the changes within each element GANT. It's reasonable practice to routinely update logic within the element GANTs from within the master rollup file instead of from within each element GANT. But that's often practical only if the element GANTs are all local to the rollup. Otherwise, performance over the network may require that remote element GANT plans be updated remotely, accepting, of course, addition or deletion of dependency or deliverable milestones in the MPP files, which again, you must update in the open rollup MPP file. Another function of the master rollup MPP file is to export the task data for the full program, which we'll cover on the following slide. Most complex projects have work distributed among several organizations, which may be different companies, and those may also run on different calendars, particularly for planned multi-day holidays like Lunar New Year or Golden Week in Asian companies, or extended time-off periods like Christmas and New Year's in Western companies. It's useful to use calendars reflecting significant work interruptions. To handle this, you can set up a separate MPP resource pool file with associated calendars to be used with MPP files for each element GANT plus the master rollup GANT. It hasn't been my practice to manage individual people resources from within MS Project, even though Project has some capability for that. Rather, I set up a placeholder calendar resource for each geo-calendar region and assign the appropriate resource to each task. The resource placeholders I set up are called Company US, JDM Onshore, and CM Taiwan, CM China, and CM Korea. Use whatever partnerships and geos are appropriate to your project. Company US represents common US holidays in your company. JDM Onshore represents the CM or JDM that you work with if they have a site within your country that you use and that may observe some combination of your local holidays plus major holidays of their home country. Then CM Taiwan, CM China, and CM Korea resource placeholders cover holidays in those countries. On the resource pool file resource sheet, create these geo-calendars: ribbon Project, section Properties, Change Working Time. Then in the window Change Working Time, for each calendar to be created, click button Create New Calendar. You might consider a 5-day work week as a base US calendar and a 6-day work week for base Asia calendars. Add holidays and working time for each calendar, and name each calendar something like Company US, JDM Taiwan, JDM China, and JDM Korea. Then back in the Resource Pool Resources sheet, add resources via ribbon Resource, section Insert, Add Resources, a pull-down, Work Resource. On each line in the resource sheet, add resource placeholder names such as Company US and identify each appropriate calendar for that name, such as Company US, using the pull-down in the field name Base Calendar. Back in the rollup file, project filename.mpp, you can assign the resource pool file to the rollup via ribbon Resource section Assignments, Resource Pool, and select Use Resources From, and find your pool file in the drop-down field. In the roll-up file GANTT view, or Tracking GANTT, you can assign one of these calendared resources, like Company US, to each task by using the pull-down in the field Resource Name, and that will be saved into all the individual Element GANTT MPP files when you save all. Remember, only assign one placeholder resource to each task, the resource whose calendar will control the task, so that task duration will not be inappropriately modified as if several real resources are involved. This scheme only covers calendar holidays, not work leveling. The OPI task data sequence continues in OPI Task Data Part 3, Task Data Export and Import. Please subscribe to this channel and like the videos.